Welcome, everybody. We've got some beers to drink today. We're going to have a conversation about non-alcoholic beer and see where it goes. I've got Tyler, aka Reducaholic, and we've got some Go Brewing beers to kick off the conversation. He's drinking a Jab Grapefruit, and I have the brand new right off the FedEx truck, the Bad Arse Irish Red. I picked it up from my package room today. It's been in the fridge the last 4 hours, and here we go. Take the first sip. Cheers, Tyler.
Cheers.
You will notice I have my NA Aficionado glassware got for Christmas, and ooh, that is good. Yeah, it's malty. It's uh it's got a good mouthfeel. It's not there's no aftertaste. It's a clean beer. I like that a lot. And I think you said you've had this one before, Tyler, right? The badass
I
one.
think so. I didn't get as many as I wanted to last year, but I think I did try it. I definitely have tried their Irish a version of their Irish Red. I don't remember if it was that one. I feel like it might have been the very first one, which I
Oh,
did
really?
enjoy. Yeah.
You were drinking Go way towards the back in the beginning days, it sounds like that.
I met Joe and Bruce on site at the brewery, I think for like 2 days before they officially opened.
That's so
That was
cool.
fun. We chatted, drank some beers. It was pretty sweet. And then I came by like I think April 2023 coming back through and I got to drink all their stuffs. I took some pilots home to like their original surveys, the
Nice.
original Irish Red. And yeah, that was exciting because I got to try all their beers. They had changed them a little bit by then. They had the gluten-free out, which is exciting because there's no gluten-free NA beers. There are a lot of gluten removed, but there's a key
Yeah,
difference between the two, and it's kind
totally.
of cool they did that too. So
Did you know that the Go Brewing Pilsner, which is the shirt I'm wearing, same design, has the same level of gluten parts per million threshold as the millet and buckwheat standard gluten-free beer?
wow, he did mention something like that, but I didn't know it was that low. That's interesting.
They're both 5 parts per million or less. So I've got a friend of mine she has celiac, and I was like, you could try the Go Brewing beer. I was like, I don't have any of the gluten-free one, but I've got this Pilsner, and I looked online and it said, yeah, 5 parts per million or less. And most of the other ones are 15 parts per million or
Yeah,
less, which I don't know to what level someone with celiac is like, what's their threshold. But it sounded like the Pilsner is like a good fit for that, which is kind of cool because it
yeah,
is beer. It's
yeah,
got barley in it. It just somehow the way they make it makes it, not be at that threshold. So kind of
yeah.
cool.
Interesting. Yeah, Joe was mentioning that. I didn't realize that the Pilsner was that low. I wonder how that would work. I have a friend who introduced me to the gluten-free beers. He has a weird wheat allergy or something like that. It bothers him, so he can't drink normal beer. And then one day he's like, "Here, have a beer." I'm like, "Oh, you drink beer?" And he handed me a Holiday beer, which is a gluten-free made with millet and stuff like that. That was back when I
Cool.
drank. I was like,
Yeah.
"Wow, interesting. This is intriguing. It's kind of cool." And then yeah, now Go's doing it too.
So you have a lot of experience in the space, Tyler. Could you maybe give us a rundown of what the difference between a gluten-free and a gluten-removed or gluten-reduced beer is? Because I have an idea, but I feel like you have a much better knowledge of the topic, and I think it's kind of a interesting thing just because of the Easy Man that's come out and that whole premise of gluten-free that Go has in their repertoire.
Yeah. So I think it's like gluten removed is obviously where you you make the beer and then you remove the gluten. I believe there's some additives you can use and it brings it down. But then the people that are true celiacs and really bad celiacs won't drink that. They might get reactions. So I personally know Holiday Brewing in Colorado started in I think it's 2017, 2016, maybe a little earlier, and
Okay.
they made it with alternative grains that themselves don't have gluten in them. With so like buckwheat, millet, maybe
Yeah.
oats, and other things. And buckwheat's actually a fruit that resembles a grain. Um, so they started doing that, and then it's not just them, but they're probably the most well known in the U.S. or at least in the area I am. I know Ghost Fish Brewing, and then I think there's Glutenberg out of Canada and a few others. And the rest, like there are some other ones where they're gluten removed, so they use traditional ingredients like Omission's up there and a few others. Some of
Sure.
those back in the early day, they had a really weird taste. They've gotten a lot better. Like Omission has a great non-alcoholic. Um, but those are the key differences. It's just mostly different ingredients. So you're not creating gluten versus you're removing gluten. Kind of like the two different types of NA beer, to be honest. You're
Sure.
not creating alcohol or you're removing alcohol.
Yeah. And I know it's pretty fresh. Go's got the Easy Man, THC CBD, gluten-free NA Golden Ale. They got that like brand new product. What do you know
Yeah.
about that? I don't know much. I feel like I should know more, but it's totally fresh on the market right now. And just for reference, it's February 2025 if you're watching this in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they just launched that. Honestly, I'm still looking at labels, still looking at stuff.
Yeah.
It looks to me like it's probably their free, like very similar recipe following their Freedom Pale Ale, and
Okay.
then adding THC and CBD. I'm still, from personal perspective, I haven't explored the THC and CBD too much.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to try, or that's on my order list. And there's like one others. I think anything above 5 milligrams scares me personally. But I know a lot of other people like it, so I actually really quite like the 3 milligram. And I do like that they made it gluten free. It means everybody can drink it. So
Totally.
that's
Yeah, I think I personally don't really partake either, but I think the premise of having something that is a little bit more like user friendly, let's say, whereas if you don't want to jump into 5 or 10 or whatever those heavy hitter THC beverages are, you kind of test the waters and you get that added benefit of it tasting like a beer versus just a sparkling water, so to speak, or something really heavy with sugar. So I think it could be a pretty good segue into that side of the market that you got people that say they don't like beer at all, but they still want to live the non-alcoholic beverage kind of lifestyle. This could bridge the gap for somebody like that, I feel like.
yeah. I think that could be something. It's somewhere in between. It has a little bit of a different taste than a traditional beer. It still has a beer taste, but I think that's where maybe some people who don't like the malts might drift towards the malty taste of other beers. Might drift towards the Freedom Pale. Although people who don't like hops, and there are hops in that, so there's
Sure.
that. But that's where the CBD seltzers and all, or the THC seltzers and stuff would probably fit, you know.
So what's going on in Colorado right now? I think I know one of the things, and it's rhymes with Mash Gang. But what else is cooking on your side of the world? I'm in Minnesota, so we got a totally different situation on our side.
I mean, I love Minnesota, to be honest. I mean, you guys up there with ABV technology, not to mention you have a bunch of breweries that are just doing their own with low now too. I mean, you probably have the
Yep.
best NA scene in the country, unless you like are next door to Go and you can just go have 12 taps of their beer on draft
Yeah.
all the time, or you're next door to Athletic and they do their pop-up tap rooms, or maybe their permanent tap room now. I haven't kept track of that. But outside of that, it's like Minnesota, you get NA on draft in a lot of places. Colorado's starting to come.
Okay.
Nobody does draft NA here out of the breweries. So there's two things going on. One is that Go and Mash Gang have entered the market. Athletic was big here. So Athletic on draft, I think we're the third or fourth state. So you can probably get Athletic on draft in like 50 plus locations in Colorado now, which is
Oh,
great.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's nice, run wild. It's so fun to drink it on draft.
Yeah.
And now you can get Mash Gang on draft. I'm sorry to make all of you jealous, but I had it the other day. That was awesome.
Man, I'm
Um,
mad at you right now. That's too
yeah,
cool.
I know. But I mean, after their investment, it was very clear that they or the acquisition, they decided Colorado's market, and they're not incorrect about that. I think Colorado, as a whole, if you look at it from breweries, you look at restaurants, you look at everything. The availability of non-alcoholic beer is massive. It's everywhere.
Sure.
However, up until very recently, outside of a few pioneers, there have not been many local NAs. Uh,
Um, got
you
it.
can count Groovy because a bunch of their production was done here. Although I know now they're doing more and more production in Canada. They're kind of like a two-country brewery, right? They have
Sure.
Canada and they have that. A lot of people don't know Tommy Knocker. They were one of the first users of that same technology that Groovy and Deschutes use.
Sure.
Uh, and then there's a big contract brewing scene here. Um, but own brands, own breweries for the land of craft beer. It was really shocking that the fact that nobody's was experimenting with NA beers. However, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, or 6 months ago, that changed. So Prost is a big brewery in Colorado. They have 4 tap rooms. They started making their own
Oh
NA
wow.
and contracting.
That's
So
awesome.
you're a couple breweries have taken up their services, I think, for contracting. So
Okay.
now you're starting to see a few more. A couple more have jumped on the bandwagon of Bruvo. That's the technology that Deschutes uses from Sustainable
Yep.
Beverage Technology, and Groovy uses. It's all over their cans, and the videos are there, right? So a couple
Yeah.
more breweries have started using them. I think there's a bit of production backlog. I have a nice can of one. But and then Oscar Blues, which I'm sure a lot of people know, Dale's Pale Ale. They just launched designated Dale's Pilsner about, I think it was like 3, 4 months ago. So it's slowly getting into national distribution. That's their
Cool.
first NA. And I've heard rumors they're coming out with an IPA next, but I'm not sure.
Cool.
And Upslope. Upslope was the one that I was surprised. I had no inkling at all, and I walked into the Great American Beer Festival and first saw one of their little non-alcoholic pop-ups, and recognized the can pattern. I'm like, that's Upslope. Surely they put a alcoholic beer in it. And the guy's like, nope, non-alcoholic. So that was cool to see.
Nice.
And there's a tiny one called Three Kings. He's local, makes some stuff, adds some adaptogens. It's pretty tasty beer.
Cool.
Oh, sorry. I have to mention this because I did play a little bit of role, but there's a small brewery in Salida called Tres Litros, and they were exploring NA beer, and like every other brewery, they had a few, but they were confused. So I had a conversation with them like 8 months ago, and they that kind of catalyzed them to say, "Oh, we can do it." And now they have a really nice NA hazy pale ale on draft.
Nice.
They
That's
just texted
awesome.
me last week and said, come try it. So that was good. It was good.
Very cool. I'm transitioning to my number two. You've been talking all, so you're probably not to the level of I am of completion, but I've got the Manana banana pancake porter with maple syrup and bananas in a barrel of beer. It has 20 pounds of bananas and a gallon of maple syrup. So it is flavorful to say the least.
Yeah.
Actually gave one of these to a friend that I've made friends with in my apartment complex today. He ran into me when I was grabbing my Irish Red from the package room, and he goes, "Hey, I've been watching all your stuff." I was like, "Oh, cool." He's like, "I've tried like 4 or 5 new beers since watching your content." So we got to
Huh.
chatting. He had tried some of the newer videos, like the Heineken. He had tried some of the Go, and what else did he say? I think one of the Untitles. But more or less, I was like, "Have you tried what all have you tried?" And he hadn't had much from Go. So I came up and I got him 6 different cans of Go and a couple mash gangs, and he was like, "I know what I'm doing today. I'm gonna go and drink these." So it's kind of fun to like stumble into somebody that like is finding content valuable. And there's another guy I ran into at a work event this past week, and he's like, "Yeah, I've been watching your stuff. I saw the link on LinkedIn. I hadn't been posting to LinkedIn for weeks, and like this guy had started with my company a month and a half ago, and he's like, "Yeah, I know your channel." So it's like there's
That's cool.
742 subscribers to the YouTube channel right now, and I feel like a lot of them I'll never know, but to like run into two people over the course of 2 days that are close to related to me and somehow, and they find it interesting, it just makes it worth the time and effort. So it's
Yeah.
uh it's kind of cool.
No,
So
that's amazing. I think we need more of that like out there. I'm gonna double fist now because I want to alternate a little bit. I love the Jab Grapefruit, but I'm gonna, since it's Colorado and since you don't have the 12-ounce cans, I have a 12-ounce can of Journey Juice right here. Journey
jealous.
Juice is the, what is it, the second?
It's a second rendition.
Well, this is a second rendition. It was a second or third mash. So I think it was a third mash gang, right? That they did in the US. They did a
They did Beyond the Pines, they did the Journey Juice, they
That's
did the
later.
Light.
So before that, they did American English, and then they did
Oh,
something before that. Oh, it was in a yellow. It was fruity. It was good. It was on the sour side. Should ask Jack. He's probably, I know I should
check.
know this. But Journey Juice was a third, I think, third or fourth, and then yeah, Beyond the Pines. Um,
There was
and
the
then
pale ale.
Stoop Light.
Yeah.
Um, and then Chug was their first, I think, after the acquisition.
Mhm.
And then they started bringing back the other one. So now you can get Beyond the Pines and all those stuff online. I think they're still like trying to kind of walk that fine line where they have the pilot, like the pilots in the smaller quantities online, and then it's Chug, it's Journey Juice, and it's Glug, the cerveza that are
And
available
Lesser Evil.
here.
Don't forget Lesser Evil. That thing is amazing.
Yes,
I
Lesser
had that.
Evil probably out of stock.
I tried that. I got a 4-pack. I should have got more, but when I first had it, I was like, "Oh, this is rich. This is sweet. This is unctuous. It's got the cherry. It's got the chocolate, and it's like, oh, it went down too fast. It was so good."
Yeah,
But
I had that same reaction to Lodge Life and also Go's Street Cred. Honestly, I think Go's gone through a few iterations of Street Cred, but this current one, it's nice. I ranked all three of them. I don't normally compare, but I ranked Lodge Life, uh, Lesser Evil, and Street Cred. And I'd say Street Cred and Lodge Life slightly beat Lesser Evil, but that's just because the cherries were heavy on my palate. I think
really,
people who like the cherries, they would go for Lesser Evil more. Whereas I like the nuanced flavors just a little bit that came out of the other ones, just a little bit more. I'm talking they're all above 4 ratings, like 4 out of 5. So they're all
yeah,
excellent.
I've had all those and I enjoy every single one for various reasons. I think the street cred's a little, maybe a little bit more bite, a little cleaner. It's got the heavy vanilla. The Lodge Life was one of my favorites when I first started drinking the NA beer from Athletic. Uh, it's I think the Lodge Life is kind of the s'mores rendition is a little better than the Untitled Art s'mores brew because that one's just it's so heavy in terms of like it's like an intention of being a s'mores beer
Yeah.
versus the Lodge Life being a little bit more subdued. So, but I haven't had the Lodge Life this year yet, so I might need to get some.
I have you might be out. You might not have much of a chance. You might have to go run the
Ah,
zero proof. I don't know. I haven't looked
I think
online.
Zero probably has it.
Zero Proof probably has it. I hope so. I mean, Untitled Art, you bring that. Like, I have to say, Athletic, Two Roots, and Untitled Art, they were the ones that got me in the beginning. Like, Untitled Art's juicy IPA is amazing.
Yeah, it's good.
And those three are the first ones. I was like, wow, what am I drinking? I'm finally drinking good NA beer. But I hate to say this because they're so good at their sours and their IPAs. I think the dark beers, and you might have some people vehemently disagree with me. I think Untitled Art's the weakest in the dark beers. I think both their chocolate milk and their spores brew are not as good as the competitors. They're
Mhm.
good, but I like the s'mores. But as you say, I think Athletic does something with Lodge Life. The nuance is just a little better. I
Yeah,
would probably Untitled Art had this Florida Ice, which I think is still my favorite sour. It's gone.
yeah.
So, and that I rank Athletics and Goes and sours very high. And Mash Gangs, what was that one? Sir, I can't remember. Oh,
Super Stack.
yeah,
Super
that thing's
Stack was
incredible.
unreal. Oh
Yeah,
my God, it was good. It's kind
but
of, well, it was a pancake. It was a blueberry pancake. This is a banana pancake.
mm,
Um, Very different. But this manana banana pancake is sweet. It's you can really get the vanilla, the maple syrup, and that banana kind of undertone is just very unique. It's heavy though. I wonder how many calories are in this. It's got to be 120 plus. I'm guessing.
did you have their one last year that they did? The chocolate,
Donut.
yeah, the donut
That
bacon
was
one.
so
That had 140 in it.
really. This has got to
So
be
I'm
close.
guessing this one's probably 140 plus. But think about all the potassium you're getting. That's a lot of banana. It's good.
As a pause, I will throw out the request. Anybody that's finding value in our conversation or content or future content, please subscribe. Help us grow the channel. 3/4 of the way there to 1,000 subscribers. So, cheers to you, everybody. What in terms of your journey juice opinion? What do you got? What do you think of it? The new one, because
I like the new one better.
I don't.
All right.
I like the fruitiness of the old one, and it was spicier. I think it had more of the chili flavor.
See, I think you got the old one version 2. Because I
Really?
got one
Uh,
version 1 and it wasn't spicy. And then Jack showed me version 2 and he said this is spicier, right? Not
really?
out Jack, right? He said it was spicier. I think this is version 3. It's spicier than the first one and the mango's a little less. So I
Yeah.
might like it better, but I could see where the people who like the mango, the spicy, because this has some spice pull out of it, but you can order both off the web right now. Like I think you can
Really?
order the yellow can and the blue can.
Okay. I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I could be wrong. I thought I noticed that when I looked though.
I'm sure I can get it from Zero Proof because they have everything there. So that's also an option. I plug Zero Proof Northeast Minnesota Beverage House. They have, I don't even know, maybe 80, 90, 100 different beers available. It's unreal. If you're in Minnesota, St. Paul, Minneapolis area, go check them out. They got, I think, 500 SKUs in their facility. So good stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a good shop. I went there.
Yeah,
a
it's
couple times.
the Minnesota scene is pretty legit, and like being the Minnesota Go Brewing ambassador, getting the ability to go into a restaurant and like have them taste the beer, and they'd be like, "Whoa, well, this tastes like normal beer." It's like it is normal beer. It's just brewed so that the alcohol doesn't happen, and you still get the experience. And they're like, "Oh, well, we have the Busch NA and Heineken and Coors and we had O'Doul's. Like, okay, you had four of the same beer basically, like." We have three or four different ones from Go, and they're all unique. So that part of the conversation is it's fun. It's fun to open people's eyes to it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's I think something. I mean, I saw Bauhaus in the restaurant up there, which was kind of
Yeah,
cool. And you guys have so many breweries that have their own, and you're starting to see them. I mean, like the creativity of some of them de-alcoholizing an imperial stout is like
yeah.
none of the big brands did that until this year. When you have both Best Day and Groovy have imperial IPAs that they both remove the alcohol from.
The Best Day Imperial, the Galaxy Ripple is amazing. I don't know if you've tried it.
Not yet. I need to get my hands on it. Best Day brought some to my event, but it wasn't the Galaxy Ripple.
You got to try it. It's honestly, it's like it's really, really hoppy, but it's not super bitter. It's like you just get you get the flavor and the essence and the
Mm.
experience of the hops, but it's not like it doesn't like kick in the back of the throat with bitterness. I don't know how to describe it, how else to describe it. It's
I know what
very
you're
good.
saying. I know what you're saying. Like I've had a couple beers where I could lower the IBUs, but everything else is pretty good. The hoppiness is good, but then the IBUs is just too much, so it sits there. I
Yeah,
think yeah, I'm looking forward. I really was impressed with Groovy's Imperial Dawn as well. So
I haven't tried that
uh,
one.
yeah, it did all right, I think, in the tasting. I think that's the thing is once you get into the Imperial and the double IPAs, I think you're gonna start seeing more people who really love them and other people who are like, like
Yeah, you kind of get that ebb and flow. I've had tastings where I've got the story double from Go, and right next to the sunshine from Go, and they're like, yeah, this one just doesn't taste good because they've just tried the sunshine, and that one's like candy and is delicious, and everybody likes it. But then you got some people that are hardcore IPA drinkers, and they find the story super palatable and they enjoy it. So, like you said, it just depends on the person.
I have to put a caveat to that. Everybody likes it except Colorado because we're weird and everybody here likes IPAs. Because it's like you go to a brewery and there's like 8 IPAs and 4 other beers. I went to the liquor store to pick up some Go the other day for the event, and they
Yeah,
had all the new ones. They had the new Freedom, which I knew would do well here. The new Story and the new
sour.
yes, the new Sour. Or yeah, the new Sour. And they still have the old box of Sunbeam. And I was like, so what? And he's like, no. He's like, the double IPA and Freedom are doing super well. And I was like, all right, I guess that tells you what Colorado is. Colorado's
Yeah.
a bit of a hophead state.
Interesting. Yeah, the placements I've done with Go, I'd say are probably 50% of people are taking in the sunshine. Maybe 35 are bringing in 35% sour, and some both, and only about 15% are doing the double. It's probably it's a smaller take rate.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that definitely would be the opposite here. I mean, if you go anywhere, it's like you get athletics run wilds everywhere, Untitled Arts juicies everywhere. Best Day, it's always the West Coast and now the hazy.
Yeah,
The Kolsch's around because Kolsch's are rare, but definitely at least what I see. Um,
cool. I was at a work event this past week, and they had best day at the bar, which is amazing. So I
yeah.
had access to the West Coast, the hazy, and the Kolsch. So I was rocking the Kolsch like all week long. It was really nice to see. As my colleagues were, partaking in their own alcoholic beverages, and we're all having a good time. So it's kind of
I
nice.
have to I have to ask you because I remember we've talked before, and you've been like, you're saying that it took you a little while on your sobriety journey to discover NA stuff, and
Yep.
like NA beer is delicious. Let's go, but like, say you're hanging out with a bunch of people who are having fun drinking wine, beer, etc. Does it change your experience now that you have something to drink, or because you spent so many years not drinking anything?
Yeah.
How's that work for you?
It is game changing, to be honest. as somebody that would sit at a happy hour with a water, and people that I've known for even like a long time that knew that I didn't drink, and they're sipping on their Coors Light, and they're still baffled. And like, this was up until 2023 when I finally found NA beer. And basically for 4 years, it was like having to explain myself, like, well, why don't you drink? It's like, because it's doesn't taste good, and I want to be able to drive home safely. And it's a health minded decision that I decided to make in 2019, and I've been much more healthy since. Like, and they're like, oh, okay. But having to have that conversation and justification for a life choice that is really something that a lot of people would benefit from, um, having that best day in hand made such a big difference this week. I had a guy that came by that I didn't know, sat next to me, and he says, "Hey, I wanted to sit next to someone that was having a beer." And I'm like, "It's not alcohol." We talked for over an hour, and I had him finish his beer and go up to the bar and get a best day with me, and we shot the crap for another 45 minutes over a best day. It was
That's
great.
cool.
And he was like asking me all kinds of questions about Go and the channel, and he subscribed to my channel. We shared contact info, and I ran into him the next day at the last day was at the event, and he's like, "Hey, tried some more of the best days." Like, thanks for that. And it wouldn't have been available to have that conversation if the company wasn't wise enough to have an option for me and everybody else that was, wanting to have a break from, their wine or their
Yeah.
spirits. So yeah, long
Yeah.
story short, it's made such a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, I never really liked the macros. I mean, but I was always a big craft beer person, and for a while
Yeah.
I thought there wasn't a big problem with that, but I've been sober since what, end of August 2023, and I've noticed so many changes. And now I can go like 2 or 3 weeks without an NA beer if I have to, if I'm somewhere where I need to. It's less fun, but I'll do it. But when I have the NA beer at a party, when my friends are having a party, as long as I have an NA beer and I feel like it's, there, and it's just so much, it just feels so much better. But
Yeah.
the health benefits from I don't know about the sleep, the skin thing. I'm not so sure about the skin part, but like the weight, like I've lost 14 pounds. I'm an athlete, but I crossed a certain point where I was like, just kept gaining weight no matter how much I exercise. And I was like,
Yeah.
now it's gone. So it's clearly the alcohol, and yeah, but it's just so much nice having so many options and discovering so many options, and it gives you something to do. That's why I built what I built. It's like, oh hey,
Yeah.
gonna nerd out a little bit.
Yeah. The first time I had Heineken was actually after I started the NA beer journey, which is super ironic because I had tried other stuff before I even saw Heineken. But
Yeah.
the place that I had it at was a event center, kind of like a thing. It was called Whirly Ball. It's like a game. It's like you're in go-karts and you throw a ball around at a target, whatever.
Yeah.
But that Whirly Ball location was my toughest nut to crack to get Go in there. Eventually I got Go in there. So the place that I experienced Heineken for the first time now has Go Brewing. And then I got a referral to the other Whirly Ball location, got them on board with Go. So now me in a year, let's say,
Yeah.
in my shoes can go to the same place with a similar experience, put their team and do Whirly Ball, but have Go instead of Heineken, or with Heineken if they still carry it. So it's like
Yeah.
this is helping people have options that are really, really good and are pure replacements. And for like yourself, start stopping in 2023 and having viable options, like it probably helped the cause quite dramatically. I feel like, at least that's
Yeah,
the
I mean,
vibe.
for me, like I'd obviously been in the NA for quite a bit before that, but it just was
Yeah.
like, hey, I know what I have, I can stop, and I think
Yep.
that big thing. And it's not, I mean, sobriety is a choice, right? And I'm not gonna, there are a lot of people in the industry who are like, oh, it's neo-prohibitionism, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is it's more that people who don't want to drink want choices. And there are a lot more people not drinking for their own reasons. I'm never going to say to somebody, don't drink. Obviously, if they're drinking too much, don't drink that day, right? Like stop drinking, calm down or whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm going to give people the choices, right? And I've given so many people NA beer, and now all of a sudden they're like swapping out, instead of 3 beers a day or 2 beers a day, it's 1 and 1, or, 3 or 4 days without it. And everyone's like, thank you. I mean, I just been inspired, whether it was athletic, whether it's Go, whether, Two Roots back in the day. And, it's pretty cool to watch that. And it's just good to
Yeah.
have options. I mean, we see choices for everybody with all their lifestyle choices. I mean, that's it. And
Yeah.
if you can, I think if you're a bar and you have a good NA option, or you're a brewery and you have a good NA option, as long as your staff are trained, it's kind of like a good way to be more safe. I mean, in the end,
Totally.
bartenders can be liable for accidentally over serving somebody, especially in Canada, because that is, but also in the US. And now if you have an NA option, you can be like, hey, instead of here, water, drink water. Hey, you
Yep.
want to try this NA beer? It's pretty cool. It's great. Here's this Go Brewing, or here's this Mash Gang, or here's this Athletic. You want to hear about it? Here you go. And they switch, and maybe they'll switch and they'll appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a cool time we're in right now, and I feel like there's such an upswing in new things coming out. I think it's gonna eventually top out where there's so much on the market that the demand supply is gonna have some type of shift. But I think the ones that are truly good and differentiate themselves are gonna stick around. They're gonna become more widely distributed. There's gonna be, the key, 5 to 10 players or whatever with a lot of other options. So I'm excited to see where things go, and I am hopeful that in the next year or two I can go to a Minnesota Gophers football game and have something, because when I was at one a month and a half ago or 2 months ago, there was not a single NA option in the building.
Yeah.
How is that possible? How do you
Yeah.
have nothing? There's literally nothing at a game with 20,000 people. That's, $7 a pop. Even if 1% of, I don't know math right now, but if 1% of the crowd bought a $7 beverage and then went back for another one, it's thousands of dollars they lost.
Yeah, I mean, we have our baseball field. I don't get to watch baseball much, but it's named Coors Field, right?
Yeah.
Atlanta Coors. I couldn't find a Coors Edge there 2 years ago. Probably can now. And Groovy is in the basketball stadium, which is awesome.
Nice.
Uh, but like it's starting to change, and I think you're going to see. I think the piece remaining is going to be the smaller breweries and how they fit into the NA scene and making their own. I really, really hope to see more small breweries making their own, making one or two or three quality ones. And then you're going to have some that are just choosing to carry the other local ones, and some that are choosing to carry the regional ones.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to evolve. And I think you're always going to have your mainstays like your athletics and your goes and probably your best days and rationales and maybe groovy, or groovy too, of course. But you're gonna have those. You're gonna have the bigger level ones. Then you're gonna have the bigger craft players like your Deschutes, your etc.
Sierra.
Um, but I think, yeah, to your point, you're gonna slowly get the poor quality ones, or the different quality ones, phased out.
Yep.
Uh, I think an example could be the really low calorie ones, not as a category, but there are some who are just like, let's just, brew really low calorie and fewer grains in the beer, and be like, hey, we have an NA. Those pretty soon, I think consumers aren't gonna taste. However, you could make a really low calorie NA beer. There are a couple on the market who taste good, right? So there will be space for that category, and it'll
Totally.
go from a art form. It'll go from the easiest, one of the easier ways to make NA to an art form of, here's your 20-25 calorie NA beer that
Sure.
tastes, really good. I mean, Community and Brew in Texas, Nada, they strike a mind to me. When I first had them, I was like, yeah. But their most recent one, I mean, their hazy IPA is 25 calories and it's fun. It's tasty.
That's awesome. That's from someone mindful of calories. When I'm on my game, having two or three at 25 calories versus one at 75. In most cases, I'd probably choose to have a couple over one. In most cases, it really depends on the day. But um, yeah, I think I'm gonna say this Irish Red is gonna get a pretty good rating when I do the review soon. So viewers of the channel and of this video that have watched to this point, keep an eye out for that review. Um, Tyler, I really appreciate your time jumping on the podcast. It's been probably a couple months since I put one of these out, and your expertise is appreciated. Probably provided some information to folks that they didn't know, which is always good. Um, and yeah, we'll have to do it again sometime. But thanks everybody for watching, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.